Adam will be the rep from the Regional Planning Commission. So Joe, his wife actually had their child. Her name's Bridget, born on 6/16 on February 10th, weighing 8 pounds, 4 ounces. He's gonna take some maternity leave and he got off both boards for the time being. Coming back later this year, I guess. Good for him. Let's see. So welcome to Alex.
Hi.
Have some time spend with Alex later this morning. So I guess we got to do intros first for the. Did you start the recording?
Yes.
Okay. Can't remember if everybody has to introduce themselves or just the person online.
I think it makes sense for us to go quickly around the table with just, just names since it's being recorded.
Morning. Guys, let's get the corner seats.
So we're doing intros. We're gonna start with Fred and we'll go
Okay.
clockwise
Kenny?
around the table.
Current executive director, or outgoing executive director.
That sounds so happy. Exactly.
Gina, Alex, I've been in like 3 meetings with you already, so Jesus.
Good to see it.
This is for the recording.
Oh, okay, Gina from Co-op Insurance, Middlebury resident.
Randy Perry, City of Bend.
Nicole McTavish, I'm the superintendent of the Hannaford Technical School District, or Hannaford Kirsteners, we call it around here.
Camille Lyons, assistant to the directors.
Middlebury College grad.
Jason LaRock, board chair, president of Otter Creek Engineering.
Stu Ritter, Middlebury College. Nice to meet you.
Richard McCurr,
Good to see you.
town of Middlebury.
Mark Foster, town of Middlebury, Foster Brothers Farm.
Dave Castle, Weybridge, and mechanical advantage. See you. Yeah, good to see you. And Alex Armani-Munn, incoming executive director.
And I'm Darcy Tart, regional president of the regional vice president of the community bank.
Go ahead, Bob.
Hey, good morning, Alex. Bob Wertmeyer, I'm president for Middlebury, Porter Medical Center in Middlebury and Elizabethtown Community Hospital over New York. Welcome.
Thanks, everyone. Do we have any changes to the agenda? Hearing none, I take a motion to approve the agenda as presented. It's been moved and seconded by Gina. First order would be donuts. To approve January's meeting minutes. Those were in their packet. Is there any questions? Take a motion.
So moved.
Moved,
Second.
seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Hi.
Aye. All opposed signify by saying nay. All right. Meeting
Make that
minutes,
motion.
I made it, Susan.
meeting minutes have been approved. Turning it back over to Fred for the January staff activities report.
All right. So we had a great visit at Silver Maple Construction with the state treasurer and folks from the Department of Housing and Community Affairs and the Department of Economic Development. So got to know Silver Maple Construction, and then they brought us over to their panelization operation on Pond Road. So the whole point of that was that panelization construction of homes is a potential way to build a lot of homes fast. Sean has come up with a way that he can automate his operations there and build a lot of housing quickly. So we're hoping that the state sees it that way and maybe put some money into this. And we have quite a big operation there at Silver Maple Construction on Pond Road, pumping out houses. Also went to the Stone Crop Housing groundbreaking. That
Thank
was
you.
awesome over
Yeah.
in Millbury. And Camille and I went to that, and then Camille attended an economic development workshop from the Vermont Community Development Association, and she also attended the Chamber's annual Economic Outlook Conference. I had a phone call with Senator Welch about the disaster recovery money that Congress passed. They actually passed a bill. That was good to hear from him directly, what they were able to pass. That's going to go through the state. So the RDCs are making a pitch to the state to deploy some of that money through the RDCs, but we'll see. Most of it has to go directly to Lamoille and Central Vermont, like 80% of it does. The other 20% to go to the other areas of Vermont that were hit by the 2023 floods. I also attended Senator Welch's roundtable on the tariffs. It was very well attended. They put out word that it was happening, and I think there were at least 4 Addison County entities on the call, including Peter Kahn, who's wants to build housing up in Virgins, and he was talking about how the tariffs on Canada are going to increase the cost of lumber and cost of building housing. I also spoke to Representative Olson, who's one of our delegation from Addison County. He's from Starksboro, and he's on the House Commerce Committee. So I talked to him before the session started about what we do and how we interact with House Commerce in the legislature, and I gave him a heads up on some of the issues he's going to be seeing through his committee. We're also assisting. We're working with the Vermont Chamber and Vermont Manufacturing Extension Center to organize a manufacturing day at the State House. That's going to be on February 26th. There's going to be testimony, and there'll be time for interaction with legislators, a news conference, and they'll read a resolution on the House floor celebrating manufacturing in Vermont. So Dave's Operation Mechanical Advantage, I think Dave Cole's going to go up for the day. And I'm also talking to Silver Make Construction about maybe going in and testifying. On the lending front, we have an application in the queue, but questionable now whether that one's going to happen. It's for Mountain Max Cider to purchase the Happy Valley orchard. And I don't know, there's just some delays in him getting the materials to the bank that they need, to the 2 primary lenders. And they're taking more time than I usually see working with commercial banks. None of them are commercial banks. It's FSA and Vita. So they operate a little differently. So I'm not sure we're going to be involved in that loan yet. We'll find out in the next couple of weeks. We did find out from USDA Rural Development that our intermediary lending program application to recapitalize our revolving loan fund, the application was not accepted or funded this round. So, but we have the opportunity to resubmit it for the March round. So it's this quarterly rounds. Not sure. I think it was more just, they got through all the top applications that had the top scoring, and we probably fell out of the top scoring. So I've asked our guy at the USDA Rural Development Montpelier how we can improve the application. His suggestion is that we put skin in the game, that we put match in there. So maybe we should talk about that before we resubmit the application, how we would do that, if we could do that. We didn't do it. So this happened last time we applied to. Didn't make it the first round. Second round, we got funded. So that may be the case with this one too. But if we can figure out a way to put some match in there, we can maybe get some more points. And so we'll have to pass a new board resolution in March to resubmit that.
Okay.
On the grants front, few things going on. The Economic Development District, so that's what came out of creating a CEDS, Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. The next step is create a Economic Development District, and that hopefully means we get funding from EDA when there's funding available. So that's been formed by the 4 areas, and the boards. There's a board that's created that consists of members from, so the public entities that are involved in that are the regional development corporations and the regional planning commissions from Chittenden, Addison, Rutland, and Central Vermont. And we're taking turns being on the board. So right now, Adam is on the board, and I'm not, but I attended the meeting. And we have 2 people from this, also 5 people from the public that are on that board. And Ron Redmond from Virgins and David Blittersdorf from All Earth Renewables are both on that board. That board met for the first time in January. It's more of an organizational meeting, get everybody familiar with what this is and what we're doing. We're still waiting for approval from EDA to have an EDD, but we're going ahead and meeting as if we exist, as if it exists already. And hoping for that approval soon. I think there is still staff at our regional office in Philadelphia for EDA. Haven't heard there are not. The other grant thing is I finally received the grant agreement from the state for what we're calling NBRC capacity grant. It's a grant that came from NBRC to the state, and they've given it out to 4 RDCs in Vermont to do some work to move industrial parcels along through the pre-development to the development phase. And we're actually, the money is coming to us. We're going to administer that for all 4 RDCs. So we just got the grant agreement. Now today we're sending out MOUs to those other RDCs to control how we distribute those funds and how the work needs to get done. So hey Adam, welcome. This is Adam Luigi from the Regional Planning Commission. I think that area is broken. Grab one of these from down here. We definitely don't have everybody here in the room. Talk about the grant, right? Yeah. So we're in Addison County where I'm looking at there are several parcels in the Middlebury Industrial Park, and I use air quotes because it's not really officially an industrial park. That could get moved along through the process, analyzing the parcels for Act 250, getting them ready to go to permitting. So moving them along through that process. And if we use the money for that, there's an opportunity to then apply to NBRC or a state program to get money to actually implement, which would probably mean building infrastructure for those parcels. So starting that process, I've got a proposal from Otter Creek Engineering actually to do that work. And I'm going to Middlebury College and to the town to see if they'll match this money that we're getting from the state. We're getting 25,000 from the state. I'm hoping that they'll match that so that we can do more work on those parcels. I've got a proposal ready. Just getting ready to send that and go. We're meeting with the town next Tuesday, and then I've sent the information to Matt. So.
Matt has it.
Yeah.
Do you need me to say anything to him or?
Sure.
Okay.
Read it.
All right, I'll have him read it.
So if and as that moves forward, we'll have conversations about
Yeah.
conflicts of interest, and those of us that'll have to step away from those conversations.
Mhm.
And I think we actually have to put out an RFP.
Yeah.
The audit is finally done. It was in your packet, so and I don't know if anybody had a chance to look at it, but if you do and you have questions, just let me know what your questions are. It was clean audit. It's our audit plus our 990. Good to have that finally done. The delay was some of our borrowers had not sent back their borrower confirmations to the auditor, so that was holding it up. Those finally got all in and we finished it up. And Saturday, this is February activity, not January, but on Saturday I attended the ribbon cutting at CycleWise. We got a plaque from it. Pass that around. They were very appreciative and they had a great turnout for their ribbon cutting. Building is beautiful. It's full of Indian motorcycles and it has some nice office space. And
Where is that?
it's in New Haven, just right next to, kind of between Silver Maple and there's
Home health and
Home Health Hospice, the
Oh, okay.
motel, and then CycleWise. So they sell Ducati and Triumph and a few other brands, and they've added the Indian brand, and Indian wanted their own building. So we did a grant a couple of years ago for them to move a shed back on the property to make room for the new building. And then we did a loan, help finance the expansion. So they rebuilt their existing building and added the new building.
So you put deposit on your new motorcycle while you were there?
No, not my thing. Right, that's, any questions on any of that or that staff activity report you received? Busy month?
Actually, I'm just curious if we did have to go back to the table and talk about changing a little bit how we do funding for potential borrowers. Are there other, I'm assuming there's other organizations that do match funding, and is it at various different degrees? Like it doesn't have to be dollar for dollar, it can be different.
Doesn't have to be dollar for dollar. We can do any percentage we want.
Okay.
I think,
There's probably other EDCs that are already doing that
yes,
have that sort of figured out.
yeah,
Okay.
and they have more resources than we do.
Yeah.
But yeah, that they, like the ones that own property are able to take some of that income and put it towards this.
Yeah.
There's like different tiers. If you put in 25%, you get 10 points or something like that. I forget what it is. I have it from Ken. I have the numbers from Ken. The problem is it would have to be our funds.
Yeah.
We can't match it with other federal funds, for example.
Right. Right.
Or probably not state funds either.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I was just curious.
trying to, if we take our reserves and put that up as match, it just puts our reserves at risk.
No, yeah, we'd have to come up with a sustainability model, but yeah, so maybe down the road, something to think about.
It's not clear to me that this last time we didn't put a match in and we got funded.
Okay.
And that was our fourth IRP, so, and I don't think we've ever had a match, so.
Okay.
Maybe there's second round, there's more chances.
If not, then we'll have to have a conversation about what we do third round.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've talked to Alex and Camille about this, about starting to research other sources of funds to recapitalize our revolving loan fund. But EDA is one example. They have funds we can use for revolving loan funds. So.
But are you seeing any impacts or assessing the risks of any impacts of what's happening in Washington?
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking to the state about it and the other RDCs. We've talked about it at our monthly meetings, and it wouldn't, nothing that's going on would severely impact us.
Okay.
I was worried that we're putting in an application to US. We've got our IRP
USDA.
application in. And we're going to have another USDA application going in very soon. But my understanding is both of those programs have cleared the review that they're doing. And the only thing holding up funding is not having an appropriations bill, not what the White House is doing.
Yeah.
So other than that, it's more trying to get a hold of federal staff, are they there and,
Yeah,
are they still working? And then the more severe impacts are, what we're seeing because of the, tariffs, the proposed tariffs and the retribution tariffs and on our businesses. And there's nothing really that's going to impact us because we don't have a lot of direct federal funding.
Yeah.
With our NBRC grantees, it's not money coming direct to us. That grant I mentioned is NBRC money, but it's already here. Our grantees were worried that the 4 grantees we're working with that have NBRC money, they were worried about getting reimbursed because they all had reimbursement requests. in.
Yep.
But apparently those are going through.
Okay.
So
Good to know.
And Fred, did just want to add for the board for context with the next round of USDA IRP, that deadline is going to be March 31st, so just over a month out. So I believe we can really just take our previous application and kind of recycle it. So there's not a ton of staff time that'll be required to resubmit. However, it doesn't allow a ton of time to have really in-depth conversations around matches and how that may affect reserves. So just going back to the point Fred made before, the reason our most recent application was denied could just been a matter of, it's just having to wait in line, and them serving greater need first, since we did just get an IRP in 2021. So I think there's a good chance we could be successful, essentially reapplying with our current application. If it's not successful, that at least buys us a little more time, I think, to have conversations about how we match and how that could impact reserves. I would just hate to rush that conversation out of desperation to make this next round, when it might not be critical. So just want folks to know that we may be rushing to get that application in for the next round, but that doesn't preclude us from having that larger conversation for future rounds. So
Understood.
What are the current resources available in our current IRP? We still have some,
yeah, about
Flexibility there.
$150,000
yeah. Thanks.
above reserves. So not a lot.
Not a lot.
Excellent. Any other questions for Fred before we move on? All right, the next item on our agenda is citizen comments. Since we don't have any additional people here, does anyone have anything that has been brought to them that they want to address at this time? Bring before the board? All right, if not, we'll move on to executive committee nominations. So there was
I'll make the motion.
do you want to? So the current nominations are Dave Castle for vice president, Chris Lapierre for treasurer, Gina Laro for secretary, and Darcy Tart for member at large. So it's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second. Is there any discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I
All right. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion's approved and we have a new executive committee.
Thank you, everyone.
Congratulations.
So,
I'm gonna take a break and grab some
yes,
food and then
we'll have a quick meet and greet with Alex.
yeah.
For those of you that haven't had a chance to talk to him yet. Morning, Ryan.
Can't hear ya.
Yeah. You could.
Exactly. It needs to be you.
No chair.
Oh, that was my fault.
No,
You got up for me and then the whole thing just.
I made a mistake, kind of leaning back a little bit. I thought there was under the table.
Friction, it's the thing that causes your thing. That was hard there. And
I use it.
yeah, this was.
What's new and exciting in your world?
I mean, the IRP is just disappointing, so it's making me nervous for our BGP grant that I've been putting my time into, but, I don't know.
How was the class yesterday?
It was good.
Yeah.
I was down to the right side of the bar. and
That's
you
what
were-
we're watching. This is for the expansion.
Okay.
and That
But you
was
were the group that I
very
was
interesting.
Yeah,
And mid-December.
Yeah.
yeah.
You were texting.
But
I love that.
Different contact.
Yeah.
And, but I still felt like there was something.
New Haven, that's where Yale is,
Yes,
correct? Okay.
yes, Yale's in New.
Yeah, so just another college town. Like ours. Okay, awesome. Yeah, I'll be interested to hear more about it. I had thought about signing up as well, but just given everything else going on, I was like, maybe not time, but.
It's good. I mean, the first session was just intro to economics, basically economic development, so that was pretty, light,
General,
but
yeah.
it was good. And Mark Waterhouse has, I guess, been going for ages. I mean, he was like back when I started.
Yeah,
We created this definition. I was like, you created the definition.
yeah,
Back from the dinosaurs.
nice.
I know, seeing you, I drove by him last night.
Trying to negotiate it for the cracker patty.
He's working on it.
Lobbyist, right, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I can't quite afford what she wants, so. I'm
And
trying to talk her
Is
down.
that just for you?
Just, well, yeah, kind of.
Not seeing your united front.
We don't, that group is not, it's like the most non-professional approach that out of all the organizations, I think.
We are.
Oh, okay.
I'm mixed up, but
I just wanted to.
that's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's too hard to turn that off and on again.
Area director.
Good report?
Yeah.
I took care of it.
Just plug it in, there you go.
We already got pineapple.
No stuff going on, too bad.
It's all fall.
So how's your first 2 weeks going?
So far, so good.
Really?
Yeah, it's been,
Stuff right there.
it's,
I'll have my name on it.
there's so much information to absorb. Last week,
Yeah.
it was hard not to just go down the rabbit hole of legislation every day. So this week I've kind of been giving myself a break from that, which has been refreshing. But it's been great, and we, I'll talk more about some of the specific activities we've gotten to do in the last 2 weeks, but, even just yesterday, Fred and I were able to go meet with, a burgeoning business who's looking for some space, and as I mentioned before, that type of interaction is, one of my favorite things about this work, so good to do that. It's the first time in a while that I've been able to get out, engage with businesses directly, and that was a lot of fun. So I'm excited to be doing more of that. So, yeah.
I apologize for dropping out of that meeting Thursday. All of a sudden, my internet dropped off.
Don't worry.
And it was just on my computer, so.
Yeah.
The rest of the office wasn't affected, I have no clue.
Yeah.
It's the second time that's happened.
I don't think we missed anything too riveting, so. But, it's been really good, so.
It's a good worker. Do the regional plan? Really a good person.
So
Basically, yeah.
Their first, jumping.
New terminal. Oh, Titus. There's, from tier 1 to N1.
Ben.
The exemption.
So gosh, it's funny. I moved here about 3 months ago, but my previous job was working with an architect and engineering firm based in New York with an office in Winooski. So it's already spent 3 months, mostly over here and still kind of over there. So really the full-time kind of permanent move was just really the last month. But before that, I was doing about 80-90% of my time here. And currently in South Burlington, looking forward to moving down here. We'll probably start shopping.
He isn't always.
Yeah, my goal is to be down here this summer with that, sort of tension on the housing market, which,
Not easy.
as we all know, it can be a little challenging. But, it's funny. If there was any deterrent to me accepting the job, it was the commute. Down here. And it's actually been
right now.
really nice,
He's okay now?
especially, when you come to Shelburne. Look at
Gotta
that
do the
lake,
job,
look at that
otherwise I'll be
mountain,
like-
it's just so beautiful. And, yeah, the traffic's not awful, so I've actually enjoyed the drive more than I expected.
I think it's funny, like, I've always lived here, but I've always felt like you gotta be okay with driving. You're gonna live in Vermont. This is the way it
He's
is.
a
And I
great
live,
guy.
I live in, Waltham, which is just outside of Virginia.
Okay.
And I work at home several days a week, but I also have to commute to Williston.
Oh, yeah.
Publicly school.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah,
40
he's
minutes.
kidding.
Yeah, and but I don't mind it, especially on the backside of the day and in
Yeah.
nicer weather. I'm not loving it right now.
Yeah, I think it'll be nice. It'll only get better as the year goes on because
sure.
a lot more daylight. So won't be driving there in the dark and driving home in the dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice to be
Yeah.
back.
She's one.
So while we're all snacking, I'll let Alex introduce himself and
Yeah.
talk a little bit about, what his vision is.
Yeah.
And then, actually, let's start off with Fred talking about what his plan for what they've discussed for transition and how they're gonna step this over the next 4 months.
Largely, we're kind of playing it by ear, but, talk to Alex about, March, April, May, 4 or 5 months is a long time. So we're gonna play it by ear and definitely overlap for 2 months. Because we've got a lot of information to impart and places to go, people to meet. I want to bring them around and introduce them to a lot of the businesses, our members, our borrowers, and other businesses in the area. And that'll take a little while to set those all up. So, but then for maybe May and June, we can talk about this at the executive committee. But maybe it'd be best if I went on contract and we work it that way for the last 2 months. But for now, it's we're meeting every day and going over the whole list of things to walk through and tell them about, right from the 60,000-foot level down to the details of how we do our accounting and everything. So that'll be for the next couple of weeks, and then we'll start getting out, going around. We're going out today for our second windshield tour, just to kind of drive around, and so he gets to see our area and the main businesses and entities that are in the area. What else?
Yeah, I can jump in. Certainly no.
So,
Sure.
yeah, we're still trying to work out, how we shift things from me to Alex, like which board meeting would be lead, probably would be April. So we'll ease into things. That point.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you, Fred. So yeah, as Fred had mentioned, I think what we've discussed and certainly we'll continue to consult with the executive committee on is sort of the next phase of the transition will likely be in April, where I'll step into taking on more of a lead role in things, and Fred will then be more support through May and June. So I'll start with a little background on myself and then talk more about what we've been up to the last 2 weeks. And I'll apologize in advance. I talk way too much and way too fast. So yeah, don't be afraid to stop me if you miss anything. But yeah, so I grew up in Plattsburgh, New York, just on the other side of the lake. But certainly growing up, spent a lot of time in Vermont and in around the Burlington area. So I've always had a certain affection for Vermont and just the culture and the lifestyle here. But after growing up in Plattsburgh, spent most of my career in Colorado. So moved out to Colorado for undergrad at the University of Northern Colorado in a not so charming little town called Greeley. And then did my grad school at the University of Colorado, Denver, while training pretty intensively in city management. So through my initial role, training in city management in a little town called Netherland, really learned that I didn't want to be a city manager, but through that process fell in love with economic development, specifically as it pertained to downtowns. So I've always had a real passion for downtowns and urban development, specifically both in a rural context and a more urban context. So after my time in the town of Netherland and completing my master's, moved on to a role in Denver, working for a media and public relations firm that focused very exclusively on economic development organizations. So that firm is called Development Counselors International, or DCI, which has actually worked with the state of Vermont, I believe the Agency of Commerce and Community Development, so has had a presence here in this state. So spent about a year there working with clients across the country, really on placing positive business stories in top tier media, while also working on familiarization tours for national press and site selectors. So really unique experience teaching me about the value of storytelling and economic development. And then from there, moved on to Colorado Springs, where I first worked as an economic vitality coordinator for the Downtown Partnership of Colorado Springs. So again, an opportunity to really work in a downtown context. And that was also an opportunity for me to really dive deep into tax increment financing, or TIF. So I actually did my master's thesis on TIF and originally started working with TIF in the town of Netherland, which again, town of 1,500 people with a TIF district, which is fairly unusual. But you know, it's exciting for me now to see TIF in the context of a place like Vermont with more small and rural towns, and seeing how TIF is applied. And again, really ties back to my roots working with TIF in a small rural context. So eventually worked my way up to Director of Economic Development for the Downtown Partnership, before being recruited to work for a private equity firm, really overseeing planning and design of some pretty major real estate projects. So a new urban high-rise in Colorado Springs, as well as expansion of an urban business campus, and then redevelopment of a 25-acre historic property. So that was in a lot of ways sort of a dream job. However, it was also in the midst of COVID, and trying to build a skyscraper in the midst of COVID was impossible. So after getting burnt out on that, ran away to Italy for about a year, and avoided anything that had to do with work. So after that brief sabbatical, moved back to Plattsburgh, worked for an architecture and engineering firm for about a year and a half. Fell in love with a girl in Vermont, made my way over here, and then stumbled upon Addison County and fell in love with Addison County, and now I'm here. So yeah, my somewhat long-winded but brief overview of my life story. Anyway, so this is coming up on the end of my second week here at Addison County Economic Development Corporation. The first thing I'll say right off the bat is Fred and his team have really done an amazing job of standardizing all of our administrative processes. You know, I'll be frank, this is my first time in an executive position, and when it comes to just bare bones economic development, engagement with businesses, having conversations about site selection incentives, I could do that all day. I love that. When it comes to the administrative tasks and the executive functions, in a lot of ways that's new to me, and that's what I was probably most nervous about stepping into this position. And after this first week and a half, I have to say it's been so easy just seeing everything so clearly laid out and going through everything from expense and timesheet approvals to processing checks and payments to budgeting, financial reports, how we manage our loans, our grants. It's been, I don't want to say it's been painless, but it's been, I mean, just again, very refreshing, and has given me so much peace of mind and confidence knowing that I'm stepping into an organization that really, truly, I think, runs like a well-oiled machine. So the transition thus far has, for me, just been a dream. You know, I think it could have gone the other way. I could have stepped in and been like, wow, this is a mess. I don't know what's going on. This is so chaotic. And it has not been that at all. So again, kudos to Fred, to Camille, to Nicole. It's a great organization. And again, I feel very lucky not to just have this opportunity, but to have the opportunity to step into something that runs so well. So with that said, the sort of motto I've adopted as far as my goals for this year, my goal is not to take 2 steps forward, it's to not take 1 step backwards. And I don't want to give the impression that we're not thinking big and not wanting to do new exciting things, but more than anything, I want to make sure that we have a seamless transition, that we continue to meet our obligations, you know, to our business community, to our borrowers, to the folks that we are administrating grants for, that we are hosting high quality events, and that we are maintaining our reputation for being an advocate and a leader for economic development in Addison County. And then enter in 2026, that's when we'll blow it all up and start doing big things. And with that said, again, you know, the focus right now is on our day-to-day business and maintaining things as is. with that said, Fred and I have already had conversations about some more big picture items and some more long-term projects and things that he's started that I would like to carry on. So we can certainly talk more about that and, maybe what that 5-year vision is for the organization. Otherwise, I'll just say we, as Fred mentioned, we've done some windshield tours. We had the opportunity to participate in a tourism strategy session the other day, which was a lot of fun, a little charrette style event. We had our first meeting with a new business here in Addison County, a fella who grew up here, recently moved back, who wants to start a business producing butter and eventually cheese. So we got to go tour one of Anthony Neary's spaces with him yesterday and start to have that conversation around how we can help him source raw materials and potentially grants and loans. And again, that's the stuff I love to do. So having the opportunity to do that, it was the first time in a couple of years that I've been back in a position where I've been able to engage with the business, and it was just a nice reminder of why I love this work so much. So that was great. And now that I'm 2 weeks in and really starting to get a lay for the land, I'll be meeting with Camille and Nicole one-on-one to get to know them more in their day-to-day, and how I can not only support them in their day-to-day, but how we can start to kind of plan some advancement for them and new projects and all that. So I'll stop for a moment. Again, I know I talk a lot, and if there are any questions, certainly happy to go deeper. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Any
Miss
questions?
Greeley?
Not at all.
It's just
I can still smell it.
It's the
I can still
smelliest
smell
city
it.
in the
It really is.
American continent.
Yeah.
Full of feedlots.
It's
The entire beef industry in Colorado.
and
ends up in,
slaughterhouses.
Greeley, Colorado. It's incredible.
Well, and the funny thing for me, I always tell folks is I moved to Colorado with that misperception that the whole state was just one big mountain town, that everywhere you went, you could look out your window and see a Pikes Peak or a 14,000-foot mountain. So when I got to Greeley and I didn't see any mountains, I was like, this Colorado is a farce. There's no mountains there. But
Isn't that where the airport is? Is the airport in Greeley?
no, so the Denver International Airport, it's one of those airports that, first of all, is like the size of Manhattan. It's huge, but it's sort of northeast of the city, so kind of in the general direction of Greeley, but yeah, not quite that far out.
Greeley's almost due north.
Yeah, up kind of near Fort Collins. So yeah. Not all.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, would it be worth going around and sort of introducing ourselves with sort of how we advise on this board and sort of what role we play in the community so that you have some context of, I mean, there's a lot of board members.
I think that would be I
Yeah,
think it'd be very useful to see
Right.
as a context of what his board looks like.
yeah, and we're very rarely all in the same room
Exactly.
once a year.
I think it'd be
so-
educational for half the board members.
Yeah, exactly.
We haven't, I don't know that we've really done that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll start.
Yeah,
go for it.
So I guess I sort of represent entrepreneurship and small businesses. So I have a background in sort of operations and small business growth and development. So you need to, if you have a small business that you think can emerge, I'm happy to help.
And I think Fred and I will be coming to visit you guys here soon,
Cool.
just down the road. So
Great.
looking forward to that.
Owner operator of multiple businesses because sleeping time is for later in life. Foster Brothers Dairy Barn, we have 8 robot cows, or milking for cows. I also run a potting soil business, with family that is nonstop growing. We also sugar, we do custom work, you name it, we got our hands in it, so. And that's all family, done and driven from the 1950s. So I'm the 3rd generation, my son's back on farm, so he's the 4th.
Thank you.
I'm Richard McCurr, and I've been about 40 years in small businesses and large businesses as basically a workout or turnaround executive, temporary executive. I started my first business in Colorado at a chain of 5 ski shops that I started in 1971 in Vail.
Sure was a lot different then. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wouldn't go back, but that's a whole different story. And most recently retired from the last business that I bought by accident, and turned into a nice business. So I'm a sort of small business operations geek.
Wow. So I went to Middlebury College and, my husband has been a long time football coach there and now he's the assistant athletic director. Our 3 kids went there, he went there. So we're very, centered in Middlebury. I've been am a lawyer, currently serving as the chief of staff for the president, deputy general counsel, and secretary of the corporation. So I work with the trustees. I got on this board when I was the director of community relations, which is now Amy Carlin. But one of obviously Middlebury is the largest employer in Addison County, and economic development is critical for us. And we truly believe that we have an obligation to support the town, to support businesses, nonprofits. For the town's college, and it's very much part of our mission. And we also I've been deeply involved in the Otter Creek Child Care project. That's my baby, and Fred's been tremendous help with that. So we're really grateful to all of you for your help with that. And obviously, most recently, the Stonecrop Meadows project and some of the other things that we've been doing in town. So happy to be on this board, happy to be a support to you. Matt Curran was my predecessor, so we're just carrying on the relationship, which is important.
And I will say real quick, again, for really having no prior relationship with Addison County, one of the things, I was very intentional as I was looking for jobs around Vermont and, didn't want to take a job for the sake of taking a job, but wanted to really go somewhere where I knew I could thrive and enjoy myself and, support a community that I really believed in. And the Stonecrop Meadows project is one that really stood out to me and kind of gave me, again, the confidence that this was a community I wanted to work in. First of all, just from the role of the college and the partnerships involved in making that project happen, to really more than anything, the engagement and support of the community. So often people have this knee-jerk reaction to development that it's bad and it has to be opposed, and seeing the way that people here not only embraced it, but really asked for more. Why not go bigger? And, I think a lot of economic development professionals will tell you that they spend so much of their time banging their head against the wall, trying to get people to support simple solutions to complex problems. So, again, seeing that project, everything that led up to it, and now with it breaking ground, that really just told me that there was a culture here and a pragmatism that, I really wanted to participate in.
Yeah.
So love that project and hope it's the first of many.
Pretty great.
So,
And
yeah.
the town has been tremendously supportive.
Yeah.
It really was one of those community efforts, just like the childcare project's been.
Yeah.
Public-private partnership, but with the town playing a critical role.
That
well,
was
so
another one as well, as I did my research preparing for the interview and saw childcare as such a looming challenge in this community. I really spent a lot of time thinking about, how could I play a role in advocating for and supporting solutions. And when I showed up and talked to Fred, he's like, don't worry, we solved it. It's all taken care of. Like that. But when I learned that there had been some recent successes, again, it just, for me, was evidence that this is a community that's not going to get bogged down with circular arguments about what should be done and suffer from that sort of paralysis that so many communities have when they can't find that perfect solution.
And we let the state do that.
So, from the childcare projects to Stonecrop Meadows, again, I saw some momentum here, and just sort of a unified kind of coalescence around solutions where I was like, all right, that's a place where I could work and
Those are
be
the
successful. And
most critical elements, childcare and housing.
yeah,
We
I
have
love
to
it.
solve for that, and everything else hopefully will follow.
I agree.
That's an astute observation, and that hasn't always been the case in Middlebury. It's a lifelong Addison County resident. and who's been involved in consulting for the last 30+ years, all around the state. Vermont, certain areas of Vermont are tough to work in. Middlebury was one of those, on a local level. And it's amazing, in the last 10 years, what has taken place in Middlebury, and how streamlined projects have become. Early on in my career, it was really easy to see a project get bogged down, in the local permitting process. And it has, it's a testament to this organization, the town leadership, the college leadership, and a general mindset change of the community. It's really refreshing to see. So I represent the engineering consulting community. We've been in business for over 25 years. We work from the Canadian border to the Massachusetts line, a little bit outside of the box and in Mass and New Hampshire, but not a whole lot. I've been involved with this board for 3-4 years, but my company's been involved with economic development, that's kind of economic development since the beginning. Not just at Otter Creek Engineering, but in other businesses that we worked in prior to. We've always seen this as, a great effort that the corp puts on to, help move those small businesses forward. Happy and proud to be part of it.
I'm Nicole McTavish. I'm the superintendent over at the Hanover Career Center. So in the state of Vermont, they have roughly counties organized for technical education centers that districts send kids to. So for us, we're involved in the enterprise of creating people to fill the pipeline for high wage, high demand, high skill jobs. And we're organized around the labor industry in the county that we serve. So I'm organized around what does Addison County need as far as labor force at high wage jobs. So we have 21 programs at the center, everything from construction to culinary to childcare to everything that you can think of that might apply to Addison County. I'd love to give you a tour sometime.
Yeah, love that.
So we have 3 campuses. We have our main campus, which is right here in town, and then we have our north campus, which is out in the industrial park.
Yep, drove by there as well.
That's where we have our diesel, our auto, and our agriculture program. And then we have a 3rd satellite campus in Virgins, where we have employees that actually are embedded in Virgins High School that teach agriculture, business, and CAD out there.
Awesome.
So, yeah, so we work really closely with Fred to identify what the labor trends are, so that we can be adjusting our programming to meet those labor trends.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Adam Lucci. I'm Director of the Addison County Regional Planning Commission. This is my first board meeting with you, so I can introduce myself a little bit as well. Joe Andriano, our chair, had been I'm the alternate. He's basically the delegate to economic development. Joe had a baby. Joe and his wife had a baby probably about a week and a half ago or so. Her name is Bridget. She was 8 pounds. Yeah, so he says hello to all of you. So for the Regional Planning Commission, we are one of your partner organizations. Basically, my elevator speech is we do community development. So we put in place the regulations, or the plans, the regulations that support the plans, and physical infrastructure. So things working on water, wastewater, transportation, emergency management, things of that nature that basically support the work that all of you do for economic development.
Thank you. And I'll be seeing you virtually this evening for a future land use meeting. So
Yes.
yes. I should mention as well, I am currently working on an American Institute of Certified Planners certification. So we'll hopefully, fingers crossed, later this year be a certified urban planner. Loosely kind of affiliated with the work I do here. I just love cities and urban planning, so kind of did that more out of personal interest than anything. But again, love urban planning, so excited to work more closely with your organization here. So
Frank Perry. I'm not sure where to start, but I'm the City of Virgin's representative, but I'm also the vice president of the Virgin's Partnership, which is the downtown organization. And I've been president of that for a gazillion years. I'm vice president now, but and so I'm been very involved with downtowns, but not only in Virgin's and other places. And then when you talk about being city manager, I've been a city manager in 4 cities. 2 of which were 30,000 people, so they're pretty sizable. And all of them except Virgin's, because I was also city manager in Virgin's, had economic development departments. I had departments that did this work. So I've always been very interested in that. And I've had a lot of involvement with politics and so on. In Virgin's, I was a city manager, and I was on the city council, and I was mayor. And in Dover, New Hampshire, where I was city manager there, I was also mayor and on the city council there. So I've been really involved with communities. And then there's a big switch where I'm retired from the state of Vermont judiciary. And I was in charge of all of the Vermont courts, running all of the Vermont courts, all 53 of them. So I've done a lot of administration. I know not only this county, but every county in Vermont. Was there anything else to say?
So I will share was when I first started looking at jobs in and around Vermont, one that caught my attention early on was at the Virgin's Partnership. And I was like, wow, that would be a dream. But because of the part-time nature and everything, I was like, probably need something a little more full-time. But that was what first drew my attention to Addison County.
Oh, really?
So I saw that job posting and had to pass on it, again, just given the part-time nature. But I was like, man, if I could find something else in Virgin's or in the Addison County area, that would be ideal. And lo and behold. But yeah, again, my background with downtown organizations, the Virgin's Partnership really jumped out at me, as well as the Better Middlebury organization, and then Bristol Core. So Fred and I are looking forward to engaging some more of those downtown organizations, but would certainly love to schedule some time to meet with you and just learn more about Virgin's. I've had the opportunity to really start to learn a lot about Middlebury, but as the big 3, certainly would like to make some time to dive deeper into Virgin's and Bristol as well. So any Bristol, do we have any Bristol folks here today?
Well, yeah. Nicole's from Bristol, but we're waiting for them to assign a new delegate.
Okay.
Val retired.
Okay.
We met your new executive director at the tourism event last week.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've also owned a couple of businesses. If you wanted to know whether I had any business experience, well, I've owned a downtown shop actually in Dover, New Hampshire, for a number of years. And I also owned another company which has nothing to do with retail, which is more construction oriented.
Interesting. All right. So what do you do with your free time?
Built out.
Well, my wife keeps on saying, you know what, because I'm on so many boards, and I'm pretty busy for a retired person. And she keeps on saying, well, why don't you do something that gets you some money? You're gone, you're on all these meetings and stuff like that, and you don't earn any money.
Coffee and pastries.
It was a pleasure meeting you.
So I'm Gina, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Cooperative Insurance Companies here in Middlebury. We are not the largest, but we're one of the larger Addison County employers, or Middlebury employers specifically, not Addison County. I think I serve on the loan committee. I've been on the executive committee. I think most of what I've brought is a concept of workforce needs, but I think that what I realized after I got here was that our workforce needs focused much more specifically in areas that weren't specific to my organization. That's not to say that we don't have workforce needs, but there's bigger fish to fry, I think, in Addison County in terms of workforce needs and workforce development. And that's why the having Nicole on the board is such a pivotal thing. Also Dave, who is just really, a mad dog about how we're bringing up the next round of workers to staff things. So I've done a lot. I've wound up doing a lot of more kind of executive support. I've helped with some HR things and the interview process that you went through. I gave a lot of, I think, hopefully a lot of good support and direction to, because I just became COO last year. My background is actually in human resources, 30 plus years of that. So.
Great resource
for that. For the HRs.
Well, good morning. Thank you for suggesting doing this, because now I feel completely boring about what I've done.
Like that, I'm like, I've done nothing. I have nothing to add to this board.
No, it's funny. It was actually very educational, so it was a good thing to be able to listen to. But I am a banker. I've been in banking for about 33 years and stumbled in it very unintentionally. After I graduated from college, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and a friend of mine was working at a bank. She's like, "Hey, we're hiring. You should come over here until you figure it out." And I just never left. The majority of my life in banking was actually right here in Middlebury with a bank that's long gone now called Chittenden Bank. Most of my career was there. And then in the world of banking, as you probably know it, few years back, M&A activity was furious and frantic. So I never left the office I was in, but I worked for 4 different banks. And then I actually did do a jump to TV, which I see you have your pen. That's for
actually bank with community.
Oh, perfect. But my time at TD was, I enjoyed it. I learned a lot, and would likely still be there, but they're not in Addison County, and I live in Addison County. So that was a little bit, and I covered all of Vermont, New Hampshire. So I was on the road all the time, and that got old fast. So somebody I used to work with at Chittenden came knocking on my door and said, "Hey, I need somebody to run our branch network." And they have 2 locations in Addison County. I live here. My kid moved, but I was very excited to get back into Addison County. And as far as the last 33 years in banking, whatever, you name it, I've done it. In 2009, when they had the meltdown in the mortgage department area, I got asked to be an ad hoc mortgage underwriter. So I did that for a while. I never want to repeat the PPP process, but I led that for People's United Bank at the time. I was the person that put that program together. What a nightmare that was, but we got through it. Training, I helped in training. I've done everything right now for Community Bank, which used to be Merchants Bank, if you're familiar at all with our landscape. It gets very confusing because there is a small bank called Community National, and that's not us. We're Community Bank NA. But anyway, Bristol, Virgins, we have locations in. I live in Waltham, 2 daughters. My husband and I have been there we built our house there 20 some odd years ago. I never see us leaving, probably. We have our youngest daughter just is doing her undergrad work down south, and she's in Winston-Salem now, and she probably she's telling me she's not coming home. I'm like, we'll see about that. We'll see. But
I said that once.
me too.
It's not for these guys.
Oh, yeah. Ryan, you're up.
Can't hear ya.
How's that?
Perfect.
All right. Good morning. So I'm Ryan Bartlett. I've been on the board, I think, a little over a year now. I took over for someone named Chris Wilson, who I think was like a vice president or something, but he changed roles here in Virgins. So I'm the general manager at the aerospace site in Virgins. We employ about 900 people. We're part of Collins Aerospace that rolls up to the RTX umbrella. Mainly producing electronics and control and actuation systems for missile programs. So we are the leader in fuel gauging. That's our core product here. We've been in the industry like 80 years. The site here opened, I think, in like 1920s or 1930s. So it's been around forever. We're also one of the largest employers in Addison County, always looking for help, mainly with manufacturing technicians is our big problem here. But otherwise, went to Castleton. I graduated in 2009, left for a few years shortly after that, and then came back in 2016 when we were getting ready to settle down with a family and stuff like that. So been here about 9 years. And yeah, everything's going pretty well. So happy to meet you. Sounds like you have a really good background. So, welcome to the team.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you as well.
Robert, you're up.
All right. Hey, good morning. And again, welcome. I'm Bob Ortmeyer, president for Porter Medical Center and Elizabethtown Community Hospital. Been in Addison County now since full-time since September 21. Was recruited here for Elizabethtown initially. Joined the board at Porter September of 23, I believe it was. My predecessor was Tom Thompson, who unexpectedly had to leave the area. And I was asked to temporarily step into the role at Porter and split my time between the two places. And it went pretty well and it became permanent. So I've been enjoying that split. Originally from Pennsylvania, South Central Pennsylvania in York, and healthcare career there for 30 years before moving up here. Our challenges at Porter, would love to have you over, show you around when you get a chance and when you're in the area. We are a pretty large employer there in Middlebury. The challenges are just like everybody else's: housing, childcare, workforce. We can attract people here, but we can't get them to stay because there's nowhere to sufficiently live. So I know there's solutions on the horizon coming for that. So we're small community hospital, critical access hospital, 25 beds. Have a lot of specialty services we provide. We do as much as we can locally. Our patients don't need to leave the community to go north to the larger hospital. And again, welcome, and would love to have you.
Thanks so much.
Any questions for us in general before we move on? Or does anyone else have anything that they left out they want to add? All right.
No questions at the moment. I'll just say, I definitely look forward to meeting everybody one-on-one and taking more time to really get to know folks individually, and really learning not just folks individually, but the different really sectors and industries you represent. And I will say agriculture is one, especially. I don't have a ton of background working with agricultural businesses, but just given that it's a legacy industry here in Addison County and one that I think's undergone a lot of change, that's what I'm really interested in diving into and just learning more about what agriculture looks like, not just in the past, but today in Addison County. But then manufacturing as well, aerospace. I think it's so cool that we're a county that has agriculture, has aerospace, and then the eds and the meds and our more traditional institutions. So again, I think there's a great diversified economy here. Love to see that representation on the board. So yeah, Fred and I will be making time to schedule visits and one-on-one meetings. And of course, after he's gone, I will continue this year to work on getting to know everybody. So
excellent.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Welcome aboard.
It was a pleasure meeting you, and we'll definitely be in touch.
See you again soon.
Yeah.
Good luck. Good luck, Brandon. All right, so move.
Just have a couple quick things before we go into a quick executive session.
Go for it.
Okay. Just the April meeting, I don't know if you noticed it on the agenda, but the April meeting, we're going to extend a half an hour. So we'll go with 7:30 to 9:30. And the planned purpose for that is to review the left-hand side of the opus at that meeting, instead of doing it at the retreat in May. That's another reminder that the retreat is in May. We haven't set, the date is not set in stone yet. Our typical date would be the 15th of May, but usually Basin Harbor is not open that early. So it might be the following week. But we're going to nail that down this week, hopefully, and get the date out to you, because that, is a full day at Basin Harbor in May. So just plan on a little longer in April. And in March, we'll go back to hybrid meetings, but I got to say, it was great having so many of you here today, seeing you all live and in person. And then yeah, reminder that the retreat is in May and we'll get you that date this week. And I know this is a long way out, but the annual meeting will be probably November 6th or 7th. We usually have it that first Thursday or second Thursday in November. But I wanted to throw out there, how did people feel about having it in the evening last year instead of traditionally we've had a breakfast for the annual meeting. I just wonder how people felt about the evening meeting. Do you want to keep it that way? Because we got to book a venue.
I think it worked well, but I can take it either way.
I could do either also, Fred.
Okay. Anybody else feel strongly about it?
We'll be reaching out to the town hall theater to host on one of those 2 days, so it may be just based on their availability, whether it's morning or evening, but we'll be reporting back on that. But again, targeting either November 6th or 7th, so.
Excellent.
Oh, sorry, I did want to ask real quick, board members who weren't here today, I know Chris LaPierre wasn't able to make it. Was there another gentleman on the loan committee? Who?
Yeah, but the only, there's crossover in the loan committee, but not everybody on the loan committee is on the board. There are board members on the loan committee.
Yeah.
Richard
Okay.
is team.
Okay.
Boy, how quickly we forget. Bill
Bill
was also a crossover, but he's no longer on. either.
Townsend.
Yeah, he
Okay.
finished his term.
Yeah.
Bill Townsend.
So you all set?
You need a motion to go on executive.
Or that, but, so you're done with what you were,
Yes.
okay. So we,
I move that we enter executive session to discuss a confidential client situation as provided by 24 Vermont statutes annotated section 2786A2.
I'll second that.
it's been seconded.
I'll get you that.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, we are in executive session, so we're just gonna,
Recording.
we're gonna stop the recording.
So I just want to update and again.
Not yet.
Oh.